Hi guys, today's topic is MFCS part 2 of unit 1, but before starting that there is a small note. If you are facing any background noise from my side, please let the volume down so that you can have a better classroom experience. Okay, thank you. And I also want to mention that these videos are done by considering the syllabus of JNTU, so no worries, all your subtopics, everything will be covered. The only thing you have to do is concentrate and learn. Okay, coming to this syllabus of part 2, we're gonna discuss about predicate calculus and all the subtopics as mentioned. First, let's concentrate on predicative logic. First, we have to learn about predicate. What is a predicate? It is a statement containing variables. For example, x plus 2 equals to 7. It is a statement that is containing a variable x. X is an Indian is a statement that is containing a variable x. So this type of statements containing variables are called predicate. And what about the truth value? Truth value depends upon the value assigned to its variable. Here, if you see the example of x plus 2 equals to 7, if we take the value of x as 4, obviously the truth value will be false. If you are taking the correct value 5, then the truth value will be true. So the truth value depends upon the value assigned to its variables. Coming to representation, it is represented as predicate by a letter followed by variables enclosed between parentheses. So this is how it is represented. If you are taking the value of x for which p of x is true and p of x is false, for the statement x plus 2 equals to 7, it will be satisfied with 5 and it will not be satisfied with any other number other than 5, right? So this is how you can know. And here the counter example is about the opposite of the true statement, or the opposite of a particular statement is the counter example. Next, each variable in a predicate is assumed to belong to a universe of discourse. Let me explain you this with an example. Suppose if you are taking n is an odd integer, for this universe of discourse is set of all integers, because odd number is an integer, right? So all integers will fall into the place of universe of discourse. Suppose if you are taking x is an Indian refers to a human being, so the universe of discourse is all humans. Next, statement functions. Statement functions are referred by using its name along with its arguments as an operand in an expression. Let me explain you this in the further topics. Now, variables and quantifiers. What are quantifiers? The variables of predicates, which means I hope you have a clear idea about predicate, right? It is a statement that contains variables. So these variables are called as quantifiers. Here x is a quantifier. Got it? Here in quantifiers there are of two types, universal quantifier and existential quantifier. Coming to universal quantifier, the statements within its scope are true for every value. So what are the statements that are present in that particular scope are considered as true, and for every value of specific variable. It is denoted by this symbol and it is represented as for all. So for all x, p of x. For every value of x, p of x is true. So whatever the value that you give, it is true because it is in its scope of for all. Let us take an example. Ice creams are cold. For all x, p of x. Here we are denoting x is cold and universe of discourse is all ice creams. Suppose if you are taking man is mortal. Here the x is mortal and the universe of discourse is all men. Next, coming to existential quantifier, The statement within its scope are true for some values. Here in universal quantifier for every value, but here for some values only, and it is denoted by reverse E, that is there exist. Okay, x p of x. For example, if you are taking some values of x, p of x is true. Some people are dishonest, that means not all people are dishonest, right? So this is of only considering some, but in universal it includes the whole one. Let me show you with a clear cut. Now you can tally between universal quantifier and existential quantifier now, right? So here true for every value, but here it is true for only some values of a specific variable. Denotion, the representation of the symbols matter, and if you are taking an example, which means everything will be considered, but here only some will be considered. So here the universe of discourse will be only some people, not all. But when coming to this man is mortal or ice creams are cold, the discourse is completely all the values that are there in a particular predicate. And now nested quantifier. If we use a quantifier that appears within a scope of another quantifier, then it is called as a nested quantifier. Suppose here we are using a statement where there are two quantifiers a and b, which is taking the value of a comma b, denoted as a plus b equals to 0. And coming to the next example, there are three quantifiers which is of completely universal quantifiers, so that they can be equal because every quantifier values will be in the same scope, which are completely taken. But coming to this statements of the quantifiers, if you see, for all a, which means there are true for every value of specific variable a. So every value of a is true, but for b there are only some values that can be true. And coming to here, there are only some values of a that can be true, and all values of b will be true. So these are something that can't be equal at any case. Coming to the next topic, free and bound variables, we're gonna learn about what is a free variable and what is a bound variable, and there is a small funny picture waiting for you once you learn about this. Okay, so in a predicate, if a variable is preceded by a quantifier, then it is bounded by a quantifier, right? Otherwise it is a free variable. Okay, let me explain you with example, don't confuse. Okay, if in a predicate, so this can be considered as a predicate, which is a statement containing variables. If a variable is preceded by a quantifier, suppose here y is a variable preceded by a quantifier, then it is called as a bounded variable. And here x is something that is not bounded by any quantifier, either universal or existential, so it is a free variable. Got it? So in a predicate, if a variable is preceded by a quantifier, then it is called as a bounded variable, otherwise it is called as a free variable. Coming to this example, here you can see x is a bounded variable because it is preceded with existential quantifier, and here there is no y, so y is a free variable. Coming to here, y is a bounded variable because it is preceded with existential quantifier, and x is not, so x is a free variable. I hope you got an idea about what is existential quantifier, universal quantifier, and what are free variables and bound variables. And this is the funny picture that I want to show you, and I'm showing this picture so that you can clearly and easily recognize or remember what are free variables and bounded variables, right? So here there is a single guy, so we can make it as a free variable, and here there is a bounded variable who is married with the value. Got it? So I'm just seeking this example so that it will be very easy to remember, right guys? And coming to inference theory of predicate calculus, here we have 4 rules, that is rule US, UG, ES and EG. Okay, so first we can learn about rule US. Coming to rule US, just remember this statement of for all x p of x and p of y, and let's go to the definition. If you are taking an open statement, if an open statement is true for all replacements by the members in a given universe, then that open statement is true for each specific individual member of that universe. Okay, so suppose if you are taking an open statement here of p of x, which is true for all replacements by the members in a given universe, then that open statement p of x is true for each specific individual member, that is for y in that universe. So which is p of x is an open statement which is true for all the replacements in that universe, then it can be also considered of p of y is true for each y in the universe. Now let's take an example. If you are taking for every n integer, we call n even only if it is divisible by 2. So here we are breaking down into 2 statements. N is an even number and n is divisible by 2. N is an even number and divisible by 2. Let me explain you this. If n is an even integer, then it must be divisible by 2. If n is divisible by 2, then it is an even integer. So by concluding these 2 statements, we can conclude it as the final statement using biconditional, which means n is an even integer if and only if it is divisible by 2. Here if you take this statement, you can easily understand. So if you are taking a particular statement of a particular value that is true for the replacements, then when we are replacing, obviously it will be true. This is the rule of universal specification. And coming to rule of universal generalization, remember this rule, and it supposes that if an open statement p of x is proved to be true when x is replaced by any arbitrarily chosen element c from our universe, then for all x, p of x is true. Okay, that means if you are replacing with any constant, any element of arbitrary one, then it is true. It not only for single variable, it also extends for 2 variables when it is replaced. Let us check with an example here. Suppose we are taking here p of x, q of x and r of x are open statements, and we have the arguments particularly. We can solve using steps. First we are taking the first argument and converting using the universal specification rule, which means it can be true for any replacement, right? So we are replacing with c, and next we are taking the second argument and replacing with c again using US rule, and now we are using syllogism, and then we are getting the final statement using universal generalization. Got it? I'll explain this in the further page with a clear explanation. Okay, so this is just to show how universal specification and generalization works. And here is the rule 3, that is rule ES, existential specification, and this is the rule that we gonna follow. From there exists x, p of x, one can conclude p of c consider fact that C is not free in any given premises and also not free in any prior step of derivation. So this is the rules. So whatever the rules that we have discussed of the 4 rules, make sure that you are remembering this rules of statements. That can be very easier to solve the problems. And coming to 4th rule, that is rule existential generalization. This is the rule. Okay, P of C, for any C there exists X P of X. That is, from P of C one can conclude that existential quantifier X P of X. Okay, so these are the rules that you have to remember. And coming to the implications, these are the 2 implications that can help you to solve the problems. Okay, X, A of X, it is considered as conjunction, and this is distinction, right? So X A of X conjunction X B of X implies X of A of X or B of X, and it simply, here they have been divided, here it have been merged. Okay, and here are the equivalent formulas, and in the part 1 I have given equivalent formulas up to E30, and here these are the continuation according to the predicate calculus. Okay, so these includes the quantifiers of existential and universal, and formulas are made here. Okay, so these are the existential quantifiers and universal quantifier formulas, and I told you that I'll explain you this problem in the later one, right? So here is the problem and we can go ahead with this problem, but before that please make a note of these equivalent formulas so that these can help you to solve a problem. Okay, coming to this problem, here we have a statement and it was asking you to prove this. So what we will do is, we will take each particular one and we will solve accordingly. So first we are taking this part and making it as a first step. So our first step is taking this part, which means rule P, rule premise. We are taking it from the premises of our statements, right? So rule premise, and we are solving this step 1. So we are solving it, so we are writing it here as you applying rule T, which is universal specification, which means P of Y implies Q of Y. So here it is simplified because what does US rule specifies? So for an open statement, if replacements can be done, then it can be replaced with a particular value of that universe, right? So here we are replacing with a particular value now. Next, similarly we are taking the second part and also we are solving this third one using universal specification by replacing with a particular value. Now we are taking these 2 solved statements, solved steps 2, 4, and for 2, 4 we are applying I3, which means P implies Q, Q implies Q, that implies P implies R. Okay, so it is something like 2, 3 implies the same, right? P of Y implies Q of Y and Q of Y implies R of Y. So here we should remember this I or E formulas so that we can apply and solve. Okay, so we are applying it and completely solving directly P implies R. Now we are solving this fifth one using rule UG. So by using rule UG, this is simplified, and now this again simplified using I15. Okay, so what is I15? We have discussed it just a before slide, right? So just go through that I15 so that you can get to know how we have solved this. Okay, so the main suggestion that I can give you is, go through each and every formulas and rules so that those can help you to solve these particular problems, and I will be with that video which includes all the problems in MFCS unit 1 and how to solve those problems. Okay, until then, bye bye, take care.